This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Selling a little or a lot? Do your thing however you cha-ching with Shopify, the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. Get a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/offer23.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile, with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
New activation and upfront payment for 3-month plan required. Taxes and fees extra. Additional restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com for full terms.
Empowered and Unapologetic is part of the Practice of the Practice Podcast Network, a family of podcasts that change the world. To hear other podcasts like the Bomb Mom Podcast, Beta Male Revolution, or Imperfect Thriving, go to practiceofthepractice.com/network. Have you ever thought, how did I manage to lose myself? Being a mom is so hard, especially when we're feeling stressed and disconnected. We exhaust ourselves trying to create this perfect life for our family. You deserve to enjoy your marriage and your kids without the stress perfectionism brings. I am going to teach you how to identify who you are outside of all of the roles you play. Hi, I'm Veronica Cisneros. I'm a wife, mother of 3, and a licensed marriage and family therapist. I am on a mission to teach women just like you how to become empowered and unapologetic. Welcome to our Girl Gang. Welcome to Empowered and Unapologetic. I'm your host, Veronica Cisneros. Today's guest is an award-winning entrepreneur, executive coach, CEO of the RELAUNCH company, featured speaker in the Silicon Valley and women's conferences nationwide, as well as philanthropist in the Bay Area. She's made it her commitment to help people reach new heights in life, their career, and relationships. Having faced several setbacks herself, she has a unique understanding of how to help others by providing actionable steps to successfully relaunch. You might have caught her on ABC's The Secret Millionaire, or you probably have seen her speak on major new outlets such as CBS, ABC, Fox, Huffington Post, and Yahoo. Holy moly. So please help me by welcoming Hilary DeCesare.
Veronica, thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have to say, it's been a little bit of a struggle for both of us just to do this. And we are here. We are here. We are recording.
We launched our way to get here. It's so perfect. It's such a great way to start this episode.
Right. So can you please share with us a little bit about your story? Because I'm hearing, millionaire, ABC, all of these things. And it's like, okay, I have to know who Hilary is.
Okay, first off, the name of that show is terrible. The premise is amazing. The premise is all about going undercover and giving people that truly are doing amazing things money and getting them more support out there, recognition, brand awareness, all of that. So the name is awful, but the premise is just so cool. So, it's interesting when you read off all those things, really what I'm here to talk about and really what the RELAUNCH company is all about is that we as women have major relaunches in our lives as well as mini relaunches, and they can be good and they can be bad. And I guess, somehow I pulled the card where I'm going to have a lot of these so that I can really talk to a tremendous amount of different relaunches that people are going through. And so my story is that it really felt like kind of a a roller coaster because I would have, I'd be going along, things are super great in work or my marriage or with my 3 kids. And then all of a sudden I'd hit that major bump in the road. Sometimes it felt more like, a pothole that's, like a New York pothole, just one of those big ones. And I've been divorced. I've had melanoma and I've had, the companies, I've launched companies. I've had successful ones. I've had ones that, crazy things happens. And through it all, I thought, okay, well, this is my path. This is my journey. And then all of a sudden, I decided, you know what? I need to share the process of what I've learned along the way with, some of these. And then I created the Relaunch company and I created the Relaunch Effect, which is a 7-step process. And thank goodness I did, because all of a sudden I got hit in a 7-month period just this last year with my mom getting diagnosed with terminal cancer. My youngest daughter was going off to college as I would be the empty nester. But of course, she's not going in the U.S. She decided to go to Rome, Italy.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
Veronica, you're probably thinking what's going on in the world right now. It's like, oh my goodness. Your baby was over there. And then I had a health scare myself. And with all that, then my daughter ends up in the hospital in Rome and I have to go over there. My mom passes away and I decide to sell my house that I built 25 years ago. And then to top it off, I ended up being one of the first ones to get COVID-19. And
goodness.
When I started to, go down this path of, oh my gosh, at what point is it just, okay, I'm throwing the flag up. Enough is enough.
Yeah, for real. I'm like already throwing it, waving it.
I know. It's so crazy. But I have to tell you, the only way I got through it, and I'm here talking about the fact that I'm not, having just this entire, crisis of my own, is because I used the principles that I have been coaching people in for 20 years. And it's like, the product, this works. It's like, oh my goodness, I've seen it work with so many women, but now I'm like, let me tell you, I could not have survived. I couldn't have unless I really, leaned into this idea around relaunching, and that relaunching is something that you can't avoid. It's going to happen. And, I work with people all the time that are like, hey, Hilary, I feel stuck. I feel unfulfilled. I feel overwhelmed, underwhelmed. And when it really hits you that I don't want to feel like this anymore, then it's time for a relaunch.
Yes. So that's the issue I find most women won't admit. We get into this place of, okay, so this happened. That's fine. I'm going to tackle it. I'm going to go ahead and get it done. My kid's sick. Okay, I'm going to tackle it. I'm going to get it done. My husband lost his job. Got it. I'm going to go ahead and do whatever I can here. And we're constantly trying to fix everything, right? At no time do we ever reset. At no time do we ever say, wait a minute, this is not okay. I have to do something different, because different means starting over. And when you use the word relaunch, the first thing I think of is start over. And although I personally have benefited in so many ways by starting over and just pivoting and, repositioning myself and saying, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's go ahead and try here. Most people aren't able to do that. And the reason why is because fear, right? Fear of failure. What does starting over look like? You mentioned divorce. You mentioned selling your house, your daughter, melanoma, and then your mom. It's like, oh my God, enough. Now to start over, I don't think I have the energy. So how did you find that energy? How did you get to a place where it's like, okay, wait a minute. No, I do need to follow the principles of relaunching?
Well, Veronica, you're 100% spot on. There's this fear of, oh my gosh, I can't do it. What if it doesn't work? What if it just continues down this path of the spiraling out of the negative thoughts that just, mean more negative thoughts and more negative thoughts. And, I used to joke with a friend. I would call her up and it would be one of these like, okay, all right, you're not going to believe this, but let me tell you. And it's almost like, okay, I'm bracing myself. What are you going to tell me? And then she would do the same. And I'm like, oh my God, we're fueling this, terrible energy. But when you start to look at the fear of, crap, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, to get back onto that right path, that to be able to kind of continue forward. But here's the thing. You actually have a choice, which is great. You have a choice. You can do nothing and continue your life down the path that you've already been going through. Or you can say, you know what? I don't want this to be my life. I don't want in 6 months, in 12 months to be not even where I am, potentially 6 to 12 months, even further behind. And so what I try to, when I'm working with women that are going through a number of transitions and setbacks, there's a point where they say to themselves, I'm done. I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to be a victim. I don't want my life to be this way in the future. I want something different. And then, as we discussed, how do you do it? How do you go about? I mean, it's one thing to say, yeah, okay, great. Hilary, I want this, better life. I want to love my life. I want to love my relationships. I want to love me. And the real problem is this: most people can't get from where they are to immediately at that love themselves, love life, love, love, love. They can't do it. They need to start because they need to start liking first, liking themselves. You got to like before you love. And so that's where you have to be looking at the fear that comes with, oh my gosh, I don't think I have it in me to do it. It's because who has it in you to go from where you are to that nirvana with the rainbow and, all of that. It's like, it just seems so far out there, so unattainable. And when you don't see that there's actually a path to getting somewhere, what do? You do nothing.
Yeah.
You just do nothing.
Yeah. Well, you do what you've been taught.
Yeah. You go back to your old ways.
Bingo. You go back to maladaptive coping skills. You go back to what's familiar, because that uncharted territory is so damn scary. Well, I don't want to do that. You mentioned being diagnosed with melanoma. You mentioned being diagnosed with COVID and losing your mom, having to go to Rome to be there with your daughter. Those are very, very hard, difficult points where, I'm listening to you and it's like, girl, where's the flag? Because I need like one or two of them. Because somebody needs to make sure they see me throwing this in because I can't take anymore, right? Like I need a witness to see me do this because I've already thrown it in and nobody's paying attention.
I know.
How did that happen? Because I'm thinking COVID, which I've talked to some people that have had it, and it's like it feels like they're dying, is what I've heard. So how did you manage to do this feeling that way?
Okay, so even when I say my story, you heard me say it, but it didn't define me. Those were things that happened on the outside and on the inside from being sick and from, the melanoma that I had. But here's the thing. I chose to look at it very differently. And I think you and I have discussed that I have a podcast that talks all about silver linings, and the silver linings of what came from each and every one of my setbacks, my transitions, and I say transitions to transformations, it happened. I mean, I literally now understand my journey, as I said, and life is about the journey. It's about this crazy, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't even know what's going to happen in, 30 seconds from now. Look at what happened with us this morning. I mean, things are always going to surprise you. They're always going to come up. And so I just want to highlight a very, very simple way for people to be thinking about relaunch. And when you look at the word relaunch and you look at, the REAL, or REs, I can't even spell right now. I'm in a different room and I get RELAUNCH. I just want you to be thinking about the R being this reset. All right. So something's going on in your life and it's like, I got to reset. I'm now in this presence. I'm aware that I need it. And then you have to be very aware with that E, that energy. You are in charge of the energy that you put out into the things that are around you, right? I could give a lot of my energy to feeling like, oh my God, can I actually have anything more? But what would that do to me? I'd be giving my energy away to something that I had to get through it. I had to, you talk about a lot of times people put walls up. I was the biggest wall builder. I mean, I built those walls. I mean, I had 50 floor walls that I had built up. And it's funny when you build up those walls, inevitably, you eventually can't get over the wall. And then you got to look whatever you are dealing with in the face. And when you do, you got to have that energy inside of you that you're like, okay, you either have positive energy or you have negative energy. And so I really focused on allowing myself to say, okay, there are a lot of great things that are still going on. Yes, this one thing is happening to me right now. And sometimes they were, on top of each other. But I was the one that was deciding how I was going to interpret my situation.
Hey ladies, if you're enjoying this episode, stop what you're doing. Take a screenshot and share it on your social media. Do not forget to tag me. I will share your share on my Instagram stories. I absolutely love hearing from you all and seeing the positive changes you are making in your life.
And so then you get into the L. Mm-hmm. And I always say, me time, but it's actually me love. I need to give me a little love. That's what I really need. Right. And so, right. People say, oh, you got to love yourself, love myself. And again, in those hard moments, it's tough for you to just be like, yeah, party on the inside, you can't do it. It's more like, give me another glass of Chardonnay, please. Because, it's funny when we first started in this whole shelter in place, my husband and I said, okay, it's the 3 Ps. It's positivity, perseverance, and Pinot Noir. I mean, it's like, we got to get through this. But, with the love, you have to be looking at it from, start gently with it. Just, you're not beating yourself up like, are you kidding me right now? This is now happening. No, in fact, you're saying, all right. I appreciate what's going on. I'm now, with COVID-19, I was number 40 in San Francisco. So I was very early on. And I was flat on my back. And I kept thinking, and then ready for this, I had the rare part of losing my voice as well. So I had laryngitis on top of all. And they're like, we're not even sure if that has anything to do with it. I'm like, well, great. I have it. And so what I ended
Sign me up. Sign me up.
Yeah. And my girlfriend would say, of course you did. Of course that also is you. But what it did was it made me realize that how long have I wanted to do a podcast? I've wanted to do it forever. And I've always been like, there's always something out there that's going to stand in the way that I can't do, that can't do. And so I finally decided with my no voice, I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm creating this. And I mean, as soon as I felt better, I was on a mission. And 30 days later, I turned, actually less, if you can really believe that. I think it was like 24 or 25 days. I had that. I did it.
Heck
and
yeah.
it's that type of mindset. It's that loving yourself in those moments. So now let's go on to the A in relaunch, and that's acknowledge. Acknowledge where you are. And here's what I find, Veronica, that happens with women is that we look at ourselves right now as this is who I am right this second, but you have so many. Let's just use you. You have the Veronica of when you were 3. You have the Veronica of when you're 10, when you're 15, 21. You have all of those mini mega relaunches that you've gone through. And you have this circle of, magic inside of you of these younger women that all comprise you and the wisdom that you have right now. And when you start to acknowledge where you are, it's a matter of like going back and saying, hey, I'm high-fiving you, girl. Because when you were 2, when you were 3 and you were sick in that hospital and you were by yourself, or, you had that terrible thing happen in high school, or, whatever it is, it's like appreciate and acknowledge that you are who you are because of every single thing that's gone on. And that, I got to tell you, when I do this awesome exercise where you literally, it's like, do you remember, that song, if I teach the world to sing in perfect, I'm a terrible singer, but in perfect harmony, that song where everyone's holding hands. It's kind of something similar. I know you're going to be like, oh my God, can we edit that out? No, I'm kidding. But anyway, it's that type of exercise that we do. And I got to tell you, when you finally acknowledge that, you know what, you're pretty badass. You're pretty like, yeah, you've done it. You are where you are because of all those things, because of all those situations. You can then say, okay. So then the U is understand. You are all of the past combined. And now it's your time to move forward. Because, if you feel stuck, if you feel like, I just can't take that first step, you got to understand that you in the past, you've taken those first steps. You got through it. Dang, feels good. Yes. That's why, that circle, really cool. And then the C in relaunch is that you're the creator, and when you start to create, when you start to move down that path, your confidence skyrockets. All you need to get is that confidence back. And so many of us have lost our confidence, whether you're divorced and trying to get back out there in the dating world and you're like, haven't been out on a date in, 15 years. What do I do? What do I wear? How do I look? How do you text? What is online dating? It seems so awful to me. Those are the things that this process can help you get through. And for so many people, relaunching themselves back out into the world after this pandemic, this is a big deal. This is for some of us, you walked in, and I use this example of, I live in a apartment building right now in San Francisco. And when I came into shelter in place, I was one person. But when I leave through those doors, when we are allowed to go back into the world, I got to tell you, I've relaunched myself multiple times, and I'm excited about where I'm going and the people that I'm working with that have lost their jobs, or I have people now that have decided to sell their companies because, they now realize that, what, I have a bigger purpose now. I have new ideas, new directions, people who have gone in and now realize that their relationships, need to be relaunched. And that really is something that they want to focus on. So that's really cool when you can be the creator of what you really are trying to do in your life. And then the last one, the H. The H is actually, you have it already. The happiness is here. Happiness is inside of you. Happiness is one of those, one of those smaller women, girls inside of you. There's happiness there. We have to pull it out. We have to know that it already exists. It is here right now. And so that's the overview of, relaunch and how, what we do and how we get there. And there's a lot of, the 7 steps and things like that we really dig into. But on a whole, when you start to think about the fear of moving into the next part of this relaunch, it's not fear-based. It's actually love-based. And what's the opposite of fear? Love.
Mm-hmm. I love all of the steps because they're so empowering. They're basically putting you in this position that you are in control. You've been in control of your life. It's now making that active decision to do something different. And it takes little leaps of courage to go ahead and slowly take those steps. And they're actionable steps, which I really, really appreciate it, because I really believe that anybody could take these steps and apply them right now to anything. And I love how you referenced that little girl. And the reason why is because, in so many ways we've allowed that little girl to kind of take over the car that we're in, and they're just driving, and they're scared as hell driving, passing all the red lights, passing all the stop signs, because they don't know how to drive. And yet we as adults have not trusted ourselves to go ahead and position ourselves as the driver. But when we're able to realize, wait a minute, I can trust that I am capable of learning, even if I don't know the exact steps, or I don't know what this is going to look like, I can trust that I'm going to get myself through this, because like you mentioned, I've done it before in elementary, I've done it before in high school, and I've done it before with other past issues, and I've made it this far. So
Veronica, look at your podcast, Empowered and Unapologetic. I mean, it falls so nicely in. It's like it's kindred spirits to Relaunch. I mean, they're just, they're together working the magic of moving forward. And we call it midlife magic instead of having a midlife crisis. Who wants to be in crisis mode? Who does? Nobody is like raising their hand saying, hey, I want to be in that line because that line really is fun. Crisis, crisis, crisis. No, you want to be like starting to have fun again. I mean, joy again. People that, are just starting out in their, and it's not that they're starting out in their relaunch journey. They're starting out in now saying, hey, stake in the ground. We might be halfway through our life. We might be further than that. We don't know. But what we do know is that we want to have better days. We want to have that purpose driven. We want love. My gosh, who doesn't? If you can operate at love, I mean, it changes everything. And it's like I talk about it as being a stool. And if you think about the legs being your work, your business, the leadership, then you've got your life, and then you've got your relationships, with the love and all that. But love is the seat. Love is, if you have just the 3 stumps, you're not going to be able to sit in that chair. But with love, it's like, and then all you need is to have one little glimmer that is back inside of you. We call it a spark, that spark inside of you. And when you have a spark, think about what it does in creation of those fires, those passions again. I mean, that's pretty darn cool. That's when life gets to be fun. And so that's what we're all about. You have to take back right now, and especially in today's world, that there is so much everyone is relaunching. And so being compassionate, being there for other people, as you mentioned at the beginning, that show I was on, it's highlighting other people. That everybody, when I start talking, it's like, I've got, this ordinary. I'm so ordinary. It's just like, I don't even know. And within 5 minutes, I can get people talking about how they really are extraordinary. And it's just 100%. The word extra. That's it. Extra. Well, and extra. The extra doesn't have to be huge. Extra's not like, a mile. It could be just this very like small little, what is that? What is that you can say right now makes you extraordinary? And let me tell you, those girls inside of you, those women inside of you, they're telling you that,
Absolutely.
You know what? I'm here. I'm still here. I'm still part of you.
I'm ready. Yep, I'm ready. Well, Hilary, my last question that I ask all of my guests, what are you doing right now to live the life you want to live? And I get it. You're in quarantine. We're all in quarantine. So I can understand that could be a tricky question. I'm still going to ask it.
So I think right now, what I am doing is I'm really paying attention to other people. I'm really, I'm reaching out. I mean, I do 3 things that I must accomplish today. And it used to be, very much like, I got to do this, I got to do that. Now it's, who are 3 people that I can reach out to? Who are those people that I can just acknowledge them, just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I'm, where are you? Where are you right now? Not specifically in your house, but where are your thoughts going right now? And so that's pretty powerful. And I have to say, it's, when you give, you get. And I got to tell you, I'm like, this is one that I'm saying to myself, I'm like, you know what? Keep doing this. No matter if we're, locked in our houses or if we're out and about. So important. Women need connection. I need connection. And we, coming together in this collective way to support each other is even more important now than it's ever been.
Absolutely. My next question, what advice would you give to the mom who feels stressed and disconnected?
The mom who feels stressed and disconnected, I would go back and I would listen to the relaunch of what those are and be gentle with yourself and spend 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And when we talk about that whole, the reset and you talk about loving yourself, you know what? When was the last time you were gentle with yourself? When was the last time that you just kind of gave yourself a little squeeze, a little hug and said, you know what? You got it going on. You are really, really the bomb here. You deserve that gold medal. And right now I'm giving it to you.
Yeah. I love that. Yes. For the listeners out there, how can we find you?
So I would love if you went to the relaunchco.com, and there is a very cool exercise that we have on there. It's free, and it is you dating you. And this is not about like actually dating. We're not talking about dating. And it's if you had to go out, think of it if you want to think of it as you hiring you, okay? Any of that. But the premise is, would you like yourself or would you not? And it walks you through it. And so, and then you're really going to find out it's going to be like, yikes. But it does. It actually, Veronica, helps you do the reset. It helps you start to think about that.
Oh my gosh, I'm totally going to encourage the ladies that are in my group to go ahead and do this because, I think we forget, like, we get so caught up in everybody else's life that if we were to be on a date with ourselves, how quickly would we leave?
How quickly would be like, I don't want a second date. Not interested. No,
my kids are waiting.
It's almost like when you're, you say, hey, can we just have like a cup of coffee instead? And you don't even want to be there for the coffee. You're like, no.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Hilary, it's been such a pleasure having you. Thank you so much. This was amazing. I've learned so much.
Wow, Veronica, you're awesome. I love your podcast, and I'm so happy you started yours as well.
Yes, I know. Yeah, that's right. We both did this during COVID. It's happening.
I
It's
know,
happening.
which is so perfect. It's perfectly aligned for us. And that's why I was so fired up to be on here, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just what she's doing, what I'm doing. It's perfect. So
Yeah,
kudos to
that's
you.
right.
You're doing a great job.
All right. Well, I can't even finish until next time. See you guys later.
Thanks again.
What's up, ladies? Just want to let you guys know that your ratings and reviews for this podcast are greatly appreciated. If you love this podcast, please go to iTunes right now and rate and review. Thank you, guys. Many women lose their own identity in the shadow of being a mom and a wife. We are a community of women who support each other. We leave perfectionism behind to become empowered and unapologetic. I know you're ready for the next steps. If you want to become empowered and unapologetic, get my free course, Unapologetically Me, over at empoweredandunapologetic.com/course. This podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regards to the subject matter covered. This is given with the understanding that neither the host, practice of the practice, or the guest are providing legal, mental health, or other professional information. If you need a professional, you should find one.
I know we've been taught that motherhood requires alcohol. I know we've been taught not to question our relationship with alcohol until we've lost everything. And I know we've been taught that if we do dare to examine our relationship with alcohol, we need to head straight to AA and declare ourselves an alcoholic who is powerless to alcohol forever. But what if all that isn't true? That's definitely not my story. I'm Suzanne, the host of the Sober Mom Life podcast. I'm an influencer who stopped drinking in January 2020, and since then, I've been telling the truth about motherhood, influencing, alcohol, and sobriety. If you suspect deep down that glass or 3 of wine at night might just be making motherhood harder, well, you're right. Come and join me as I chat with other sober and sober-curious moms. Let's laugh, cry, and normalize sobriety together, all while we reheat our coffee for the 4th time today. I know we've been taught that motherhood requires alcohol. I know we've been taught not to question our relationship with alcohol until we've lost everything. And I know we've been taught that if we do dare to examine our relationship with alcohol, we need to head straight to AA and declare ourselves an alcoholic who is powerless to alcohol forever. But what if all that isn't true? That's definitely not my story. I'm Suzanne, the host of the Sober Mom Life podcast. I'm an influencer who stopped drinking in January 2020, and since then, I've been telling the truth about motherhood, influencing, alcohol, and sobriety. If you suspect deep down that glass or 3 of wine at night might just be making motherhood harder, well, you're right. Come and join me as I chat with other sober and sober-curious moms. Let's laugh, cry, and normalize sobriety together, all while we reheat our coffee for the 4th time today.
Addiction impacts all of us. Addiction's consequences run through all of us. From ourselves to our loved ones and through our communities, addiction creates so much loss and grief. My name is Dwayne Osterlin, and I'm the host of the Addicted Mind podcast, a show featuring personal stories, expert guests, and vital information about addiction and addiction recovery. We'll talk with leading treatment providers to discuss the latest research and treatment options for this devastating disease and advocate for mental health awareness. We discuss topics like the importance of creating a community of support, to helping loved ones, to some of the latest research on psychedelic medicines. The Addicted Mind podcast has been about creating hope, listening to stories of many amazing people that have overcome addiction and are thriving. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, subscribe to the Addicted Mind podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or check out theaddictedmind.com. New episodes every Monday. See you there.
I know we've been taught that motherhood requires alcohol. I know we've been taught not to question our relationship with alcohol until we've lost everything. And I know we've been taught that if we do dare to examine our relationship with alcohol, we need to head straight to AA and declare ourselves an alcoholic who is powerless to alcohol forever. But what if all that isn't true? That's definitely not my story. I'm Suzanne, the host of the Sober Mom Life podcast. I'm an influencer who stopped drinking in January 2020, and since then, I've been telling the truth about motherhood, influencing, alcohol, and sobriety. If you suspect deep down that glass or 3 of wine at night might just be making motherhood harder, well, you're right. Come and join me as I chat with other sober and sober-curious moms. Let's laugh, cry, and normalize sobriety together, all while we reheat our coffee for the 4th time today. I know we've been taught that motherhood requires alcohol. I know we've been taught not to question our relationship with alcohol until we've lost everything. And I know we've been taught that if we do dare to examine our relationship with alcohol, we need to head straight to AA and declare ourselves an alcoholic who is powerless to alcohol forever. But what if all that isn't true? That's definitely not my story. I'm Suzanne, the host of the Sober Mom Life podcast. I'm an influencer who stopped drinking in January 2020, and since then, I've been telling the truth about motherhood, influencing, alcohol, and sobriety. If you suspect deep down that glass or 3 of wine at night might just be making motherhood harder, well, you're right. Come and join me as I chat with other sober and sober-curious moms. Let's laugh, cry, and normalize sobriety together, all while we reheat our coffee for the 4th time today.